I'm very excited to bring you guys a build with the new Hunter exotic, the Renewal Grasps, that I believe could dominate endgame PvP, specifically 3v3 game modes such as Trials of Osiris. The exotic provides a lot of interesting effects, some of which are displayed on its description, and some of which are hidden, that synergize so well to create a unique and powerful playstyle. In this video, I want to break down exactly what the exotic does, what build, i.e. what fragments, aspects, armor, and perks to run with it, and then some gameplay tips to maximize the usage of the exotic, specifically for PvP. Let's get into it. So first, let's go over what the exotic does. Its main exotic perk, Depths of Duskfield, provides three main effects. It makes Duskfields larger. It also has a hidden perk which I'll talk about a little bit later, which improves Duskfields even more. Number 2, you gain damage resistance while inside the Duskfield. And then number 3, enemies inside the Duskfield gain a debuff that reduces their damage output. The buff you'll notice while this exotic is proccing is called resist, and it can stack, resist times 2, resist times 3 is what you'll typically see on the side of your screen. When it's active, it provides a 14% damage reduction. This takes a hand cannon headshot from 70 down to 60, so that a 3-tap is no longer possible. This allows you to win your 1v1 duels using a Duskfield grenade. In terms of the debuff to enemies, when they are inside your Duskfield, they gain a debuff called Oversoul's Grip, which provides a 50% damage output reduction. That means their headshot from a hand cannon goes from 70 to 35. Crazy. What's even more nutty is that both of these things can stack. If you are inside the Duskfield and the opponent is inside the Duskfield, then both the 50% debuff and your own 14% damage resist stack. So with reference to 140 RPM hand cannon that used to do 70 damage to a headshot, it now does 30 damage. That's a 57% damage reduction. More realistically, this is going to be insane for 1v1 shotgun scenarios. It lets you tank a pellet shotgun shot and survive. You can also survive a headshot from a slug shotgun and survive. And you can also survive 2 melees as well. Now in terms of that hidden perk I talked about earlier, Renewal Grasps upgrades the crystal inside of Duskfield. Touch of Winter, the stasis aspect, on its own gives Duskfield a small stasis crystal that lets you synergize stasis fragments with it. Now Renewal Grasps, even without Touch of Winter, will give the Duskfield a medium-sized crystal, and if you stack it with Touch of Winter, the crystal becomes upgraded to a full large-sized crystal. A full-size crystal, in my opinion, is a complete game changer as well, and I'll cover this in the gameplay tips section of the video later on. Now, let's go over my build that lets me maximize this playstyle. In terms of stat priority, the number one stat you want is 100 discipline to minimize grenade recharge time. This build focuses completely around Duskfield, so we need maximum uptime for it. Like with any other PvP build, the next stat you want to prioritize is 100 recovery. And then finally, you want, if you can, and if your armor allows it, 100 mobility. If you can't get to 100 mobility while maintaining 100 discipline and 100 recovery, try and aim for this stat to be as high as possible. You want your dodge cooldown time to be as minimal as possible because dodging is so intrinsic to the Hunter gameplay loop. Now in terms of the rest of the build, you definitely want 2 grenade kickstart mods to get that grenade energy boost and to minimize your grenade cooldown time. Then I personally run things like Radiant Light, Powerful Friends, 2 utility kickstarts as well, to minimize that dodge cooldown and to gain more stats. Now let's have a look at what stasis fragments and aspects I'm running. The first one is Touch of Winter. This increases Duskfield's radius from 6.5 meters to 7 meters, and then the exotic on top makes the radius even larger. Having a larger radius is vital, because then you can have all the benefits of your exotic, of the stasis build, and take advantage of it in a larger area and not be confined to a very minimal space to strafe. Touch of Winter also provides a small stasis crystal, which like we said before, is upgraded to a large size crystal with the exotic. I then run Grim Harvest as my second aspect, purely for the 3 fragment slots rather than the effects of Grim Harvest. Something like Shatter Dive only gives you 1 fragment, and this build really isn't about shattering crystals. With Shatter Dive, you want to keep that crystal up for as long as possible and utilize the damage resist from it. Now, in terms of fragments, our first fragment is Whisper of Torment, which reduces grenade recharge time. Our second fragment, Whisper of Shards, whereby shattering a crystal increases your grenade recharge rate, and it also provides 10 resilience as a bonus. Our third and most important fragment is Whisper of Chains, which provides a damage resist while you are next to a stasis crystal, and this stacks with the Renewal Grasp's damage resist. Next, I run Whisper of Durance. The main benefit here is that your grenade lasts longer before it disappears. And then for the fifth fragment slot, I personally use Whisper of Conduction here, purely for the stat boost of the 10 resilience and the 10 intellect. Another option could be to use Whisper of Rhyme, so that when you defeat slowed targets, you get a stasis shard created by Grim Harvest, and then once you pick up that stasis shard, you get a small overshield or a health boost. But when I tested this in PvP, the effect was quite small, and it wasn't as frequent, and it wasn't as prominent as, say, when Titans create multiple stasis shards using Glacier Grenade, so I avoided using Whisper of Rhyme for PvP purposes, but I can see it being great in PvE. So our first tip is to use the grenade on yourself. Typically, you throw Duskfields on opponents across the map, and this is still viable because of the debuff provided by the gauntlets and the inherent nature of Duskfield. But this build really shines when you throw the grenade on yourself, so you get the multiple resists provided by the exotic and the fragments. Our second tip is to use the grenade proactively rather than reactively. What this means is, try and use the grenade before engaging into an encounter. Throw it before starting a fight so you gain all those benefits at the start. I often throw it at the corner of a lane that I know I'm going to engage in. This will be especially useful for a game mode such as Trials of Osiris, where you're trying to engage in that first lane and you want to tank a few hand cannon or pulse rifle shots. Number 3. Remember to break the crystal when you finish an engagement and you want to reposition. Make it a habit to do this, as this lets you activate Whisper of Shards and you gain increased grenade recharge so that you will have your Duskfield again ready for the next encounter. Our fourth tip here is to utilize the large crystal. The crystal is much bigger. It can be used as cover. It can also be used as a ledge. And both of these things makes for some pretty interesting gameplay. Number 5. For rushing playstyles, you can use the grenade aggressively for close quarters combat. Throw the grenade on the opponent or halfway in between you and your opponent where you think you'll engage, and then for CQC you will have a humongous advantage, as they won't be able to one-shot you with a shotgun, they won't be able to double melee you and kill you, and they are slowed as well, so it's really easy to hit them with your shotgun and finish them off. So there you have it, guys, a guide to using Renewal Grasps in PvP. I'm very excited to try this build out in Trials. Amidst all the invisibility and Void 3.0 bullshit, I think I'll carry on using Stasis because this build is so powerful for winning your 1v1s. I haven't even had a chance to touch the utility of this exotic from an endgame PvE perspective, with Protective Light being nerfed really hard from 50% damage resist down to 10%. I think this build will provide cover for that nerf and help to create an endgame tanky PvE build for hunters with a high grenade recharge rate. If you enjoyed the video today, please make sure to like it and comment below about the crazy builds you've been trying out with the Witch Queen, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more cool content like this. Peace out.